Hello chess friends and welcome to the channel. Today's game is another match from the Grand Chess Tour 2019. The Blitz games were exciting and fun to watch, but of course full of mistakes. So I decided to show you other interesting games from the rapid session. Today with the white pieces Maxime Vachier Lagrave, who played great chess during this tournament, and with the black pieces Wei Yi. In their game from round 4 of the rapid session, the French grandmaster gave us an important endgame lesson, so let's watch the game together. Let's start. Vachier Lagrave with the white pieces opens with e4 and Wei Yi answers with e5, knight to f3 and knight to f6, the Petrov defense. Knight captures on e5, d6 hitting the knight back on f3 and knight captures on e4. Knight to c3 now, the Nimzovich variation. This is a modern and aggressive approach against the Petrov with white that will castle long. Knight captures on c3, d recaptures on c3 and bishop to e7. Bishop to e3, and here a nearly short castle for black, queen to d2, knight to d7 and long castle for white. Knight to f6 and bishop to d3 to complete the initial development. Now black generally continues with c5, Wei Yi has another idea and he plays another good move, d5, controlling both the important squares e4 and c4. Now all the 3 games in database and not among top players. After rook in h goes to e1, the game is completely original. Rook to e1 is the best move, but we must ask ourselves why to centralize the rook and instead not to start activating the king side for the classic king side attack against the king. Let's watch what happens. Let's go back one move. h3 could be the first move to start to activate the king side pawns. Here comes c5, g4, c4 now hitting the bishop, bishop back to e2, queen to a5 with tempo, king to b1 protecting a2, now rook to d8, and an important move, bishop to f4 controlling d6, because if we go back one move, in this position g5 is a terrible mistake. In fact, not only the knight can freely move to e4 attacking the queen, but it makes that with tempo. So I mean attacking the queen with tempo. So after queen to e1, black has time to play rook to d6, the rook will move to b6 or a6, black is winning, it's already -3. So going back to our game, after rook to d8, bishop to f4 controlling the important d6, here comes b5, knight to d4, knight to e4, and queen to e1, and it's simple to notice that black is better. But why this king side attack doesn't work? Because not only this, let's go back to our initial position, not only the center is not completely closed, but somehow it's black that has more control in the center. So that's why starting a king side attack now is a mistake, and that's why Vachier Lagrave chose to play rook to e1 acting in the center. So let's go back to our game. We said rook in h goes to e1, the best move. Bishop to g4, pinning the knight. Here comes h3. Bishop captures on f3 and g recaptures on f3. Rook to e8 and now f4. c5, and after king to b1, always a useful move, it seems that black is just a bit better. This position, instead of playing queen to c7 that improves the position of the queen, supports and put more pressure on the c5, connect the rooks, Wei Yi plays queen to a5, but this is a big inaccuracy. At first, queen to a5 doesn't come with tempo because the white king is already on b1, but Wei Yi thinks that his pawn structure alone, that is much better than white pawn structure, can win the game, so he wants to change the queens as soon as possible. After queen to a5, here comes f5, rook in a goes to d8, rook to g1, king to h8, good idea to remove the king from the g file. Here comes c4, and Wei Yi is able to change the queens. Queen captures on c2 and bishop recaptures on c2. After d4, here we must ask, without the queens on the board, is black really better, really so much better, or maybe the bishop pair equalize the game? This is probably the best analysis of the position. The game is almost equal. c3, attacking d4, d captures on c3, and bishop recaptures on c3. Bishop to d6, rook back to e1, rook captures on e1, and rook recaptures on e1. Here comes an important moment of the game. Wei Yi goes on with this idea of changing the pieces, but rook to e8 is a terrible mistake, an endgame mistake. Rook to e8 changing the rooks is not a bad thing in itself, but when all the heavy pieces and the queen disappears from the board, the kings becomes stronger and stronger, and there is a big difference between the white king and the black king. The black king is far in the right corner, while the white king can easily enter into the game. So in this position, rook to e8 is a great mistake. Wei Yi, before changing the last heavy piece, should improve the position of his king, moving the king toward the center. After rook to e8, Vachier Lagrave captures with check, the knight recaptures on e8. Here comes bishop to e4 that improves the position of the bishop with tempo, b6, bishop to c6 attacking the knight, and knight to f6. King to c2 activates the king, black is already King to c2 activates the king, black is already in great danger. King to g8, king to b3, king to f8, and king to a4. King to e7, king to b5, king to d8, and king to a6. The king arrives to touch his target. There is nothing to do because bishop to b8, here comes the king, and there is nothing to do. King to c7 with tempo against the bishop is not enough because the bishop can move to d5, protected by the pawn, attacking f7. So, weakness on both sides of the board. White is dominating this endgame. King to b8, at least to protect b7. Bishop captures on f7 and knight to e4, attacking both the bishop and f2. Bishop captures on g7, knight captures on f2 and h4. Knight to d3, this is of course a good move, there are many good continuation. Vachier Lagrave continues with a3 because he wants to avoid this knight check, and it's a good move. Bishop to e5, bishop to f8, and knight captures in b2. Bishop to e6, and in this position black would like to be able to block this pawn with bishop to f6, but this is not possible. Can you see why? Let's watch. After bishop to f6, here comes bishop to d6 with check. The king can only move to a8, and bishop to d5 is checkmate. So let's go back to our game. After bishop to e6, of course, Wei Yi wants to improve the position of his king. King to c7, but the king is leaving a7 unprotected. After king to c7, bishop to e7 creates with the other bishop a wall that blocks the king, and now f6 is possible. Knight to d3, finally f6, bishop to d6, and king captures on a7. Watching b6. Wei Yi calls back the knight to e5, but here comes bishop captures with check. The king recaptures, and after f7, Wei Yi resigns. Of course, this endgame is won, but let's make some other moves, because I would like to show you an interesting approach against black in this position. So, of course, after f7, if the knight capture, the bishop capture, the endgame is completely lost because white is a bishop up. So, f7 forces black to move the king to e7 to stop the pawn. So, king to e7, here comes bishop to d5, at the next move, because the king, of course, was also watching the bishop. At the next move, the king will capture on b6. So knight to d7 is a move that tries to hold the position. And from now on, I want to show you not the best computer moves, but a simple plan to win. So as we can see, black is completely tied to hold the position. So let's put him in Zugzwang. a4, h6, h5, king to f8, trying to move back and forth the king between these two squares. But here comes king to b7, king back to e7, king to c7, and the good moves just finished. Black is in Zugzwang. Knight to e5, because if the king goes back, the knight is lost. Here comes king captures on b6, and it's game over because nothing can stop the a-pawn from promoting. So it was a beautiful endgame played by Maxime Vachier Lagrave that can teach us many things, and that I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, as usual, please don't forget to like the video and to subscribe to the channel. Only 3 days and the FIDE Grand Prix will begin in Moscow. Many great players, Nakamura, Wesley, so many others. So many more great games are coming to the channel. For now, thank you very much for watching and goodbye.